Well, if I may call the next session to order, if you can hear me out with a coffee and tea, I invite you to come in and join us now. I have two bits of unfortunate news and one bit of extremely good news. One of the bits of unfortunate news is that Assistant Secretary of Defense Gregson got called to another extremely important meeting and cannot be with us. The other bit of news that I find distressing is that the Assistant Secretary felt that accepting a summons from his boss, the Secretary of Defense, had priority over being with us today. I don't understand the priorities there. But the good news is it simply gives us more time for this very distinguished panel, led by June Dreyer. June represents the very things that we talked about yesterday, and indeed the very thing that the National Asia Research Program is trying to promote. That is, getting scholars talking to people here in Washington and getting a serious academic input into the Washington decision-making process. So, June, we will turn things over to you, and delighted to have all four of our panelists here.
Thank you. Well, let me just introduce all of our panelists together, and that way you can just take over from one another. And I suppose as Bob said, the good news here is we each get a little few extra minutes here, so we don't have to be so careful about time. We chose the name of this panel. I know yesterday somebody mentioned, thank God you didn't mention China Rising. Well, we were bound to get around to it sooner or later. And we have Dan telling us why it's important for the United States to watch out for that, and M. Taylor Fravel telling us that we don't have to be too scared yet, as I read your paper. And Tom is going to discuss that. Well, Dan is a resident fellow and the director of Asian Studies at AEI, and he has been studying the rising China for quite a time. He is a commission member of the U.S.-China Economic and Security Review Commission, and prior to that, he was senior director for China, Taiwan, and Mongolia, and the Secretary of Defense's Office of International Security Affairs. And M. Taylor Fravel is the Cecil and Ida Green Career Development Associate Professor of Political Science and a member of the Security Studies Program at MIT. Let me put in a plug for his book, and that is Strong Borders, Secure Nation, Cooperation and Conflict in China's Territorial Disputes. Who chose that title?
I did.
That's a really long one. And currently he's examining the evolution of China's military strategy since 1949, which is also going to be a book, which, I don't know, do you have a publisher yet? So
Not yet.
Not yet. Well, we should all watch out for it. Okay, and Tom Finger is the inaugural Oxenberg-Bolin Distinguished Fellow at Stanford University, and he has been a number of other things in the State Department, and among which were Assistant Secretary of State for Intelligence and Research, and he was also chair of the National Intelligence Council. So, Dan, do you want to lead off?
Sure.